Afternoon, everybody. Duke, Blue Tar Peel. Beautiful day up here on the mountain today. Thanks for tuning in with me. So right now I'm out in the cornfield. Last year I did some videos. First time we had a cornfield on this mountain. I said if we can ever grow a cornfield out here, we can grow anything up here. And I'm going to tell you that cornfield last year produced 30-60 hundredfold. I mean, I picked rocks, and not just me, but guys that were helping me. We probably picked, I'm going to guess, about 40 ton of rock out of this cornfield last year. You looking behind me, I mean, I went ahead this year. I let the corn stalk go. I mulched all that down, shredded it all down, any leaf matter that was on there, and I re-tilled it back into the cornfield again. And I know that on sweet corn you're supposed to do crop rotation and stuff like that, or at least they suggest it. Unfortunately, I don't have another place to put the corn, so nor do I want to till up another section this size up on this mountain. Dealing with the rock and stuff, it is a love-hate relationship. So at any rate, the reason that, from what I understand, the reason that you don't plant corn in the same place because they are a large nutrient drainer. For them to grow to their size, they absorb, a lot of the nutrients that are in the ground. So you're supposed to, plant a different crop in there to re-add nutrients back in. But like I said, we love the corn, and I don't want to, this size of area in kale or something like that. So I re-limed it and I re-fertilized it. That's the same thing I did with it last year when there was no growth whatsoever. There was the growth of rocks. So I did the same thing last year that I did this year, on top of mulching all the organic matter back into the land again. So last year to prepare the cornfield took about a month and a half. I mean, it was, even if not more, it was, I didn't think it was ever going to get done. And we worked on that thing and picked rock and tilled and picked rock, and I mean, it was a drainer. That's for sure, because it just didn't want to see the end. So that was with multiple guys helping me. First time we ever used this section of land for anything to grow on. Definitely pure 100% mountain property. But then we had such an abundance of sweet corn last year. It was amazing. I mean, we were coming up and, working on the main house and go to grab lunch, and we were pulling the ears of corn, off the stalk, and then going right over and putting it on tin foil and, frying it up on the grill. And we did that, I couldn't even tell you how many times. And then we'd pick it and it was falling off the carts that we had. It was so much. But I'm expecting another big harvest, this year. And I think it's probably going to do a little bit better, from what I'm planning on. So what I can say, month and a half or so dealing with it last year, 3 days by myself this year. Okay, so we have really reduced it down. Now, I still had to pick rock. I was actually surprised the amount of rock that was still, underneath this soil. But I probably hauled about, I'm going to say probably about 13 to 15 buckets on Big Red out of here, and pure rock. And I'm going to, that bucket or that machine's capable of doing, 2,100 pounds, I think, on the load capacity. So I don't know if I was loaded or not, but you can anticipate 13 to 15 tons came out of here of rock again. I do think that I'm going to have the same issue next year, but it does look like it's getting better and better. If you look at it behind me, I mean, it just looks perfect. I mean, I don't know how well you can see it, but I'm extremely happy with the way that it came out. So again, this year, and I got a couple bags sitting down there on the ground. We're going to be using the from Burpee Seed Company, the Silver Queen, and then we're going to use Ambrosia. That's the same seeds that I used last year. I actually think the Ambrosia was a little bit tastier corn than the Silver Queen, but the Silver Queen was more abundant. It came and grew better than the Ambrosia did. Um, the ears were bigger, and it was a better producing corn, but the Ambrosia definitely had a better taste, I believe. Not that the Silver Queen was bad; we loved it too, and I think the Ambrosia was better. At any rate, a couple things I did a little bit different this year. Now I have retailed this lot probably I'm thinking 3 times within the last 3 days. I've raked it, I've dragged it, I've smoothed it with the back of the bucket. We had some, where erosion from last year had kind of dipped it down, or you pull out big rocks and all of a sudden you get this big hole in the ground, And I mean, my rocks up here ain't small. My rocks are big. So when you pull one out, it's like, yeah. Well, now we got to find all the dirt to fill that hole again. But something I'm going to do a little bit different this year. We were actually going to stagger plant, you all the corn this year to allow it to come up in different phases because we got pretty much all the corn within, a 2 week turnaround last year, and it was a lot of work. So we were going to stagger it. However, I'm not able to do that this year for the sheer fact I'm already 3 weeks behind getting the corn in the ground. So this harvest isn't expected until mid to late August, in through the front end to the middle of September. We get a little bit colder up here than down below. When it comes into fall, what it's going to do this year, I couldn't tell you, but we got to beat any of the freeze, and I'm already 3 weeks behind just because I've got so many other projects going on. So we're not going to stagger plant it this year. Hopefully we'll be able to do that next year, and I'll have more time to prepare this. I should have really had this corn in the ground right around the 1st of May. The other thing that I noticed last year is like the edges of the corn had around some of the edges and around the ambrosia plant. It wasn't. I don't know. It just didn't seem to get either the proper amount of sunlight or nutrition was an issue. It didn't grow excellent. I mean, it definitely grew, but it didn't grow excellent. And so what I had last year is I had the rows of corn running, we'll say top where I'm at now to bottom. And, as the sun is circling us as it comes up, the corn was this way, we'll say. The corn was this way and the sun was hitting from that side. So I think there is a possibility I maybe choked some of the light out of the field just by the way I positioned the corn rows. So I am turning it this year. I'm going to run the corn rows the opposite direction. I'm going to put the Silver Queen, which is about an 8-foot plant, on the high end of the orchard, or I'm sorry, of the cornfield. And then I'm going to put the ambrosia down at the lower side. And the reason I'm going to do that is off the hill, the sun comes up right over top of that ridge back over there. So when it comes up, I won't have the higher plant blocking that morning sun. I mean, we're going to want about 6 to 8 hours of sunlight on this corn all the time. As you can see, it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I mean, we got excellent sun, on this. But I want the smaller plants to be able to get that morning sun just the same as the top. So I'm gonna put the ambrosia down on that side, and then as the sun comes up and over, the rose will be, and midday they'll be in parallel with the sun, so there's no shadowing going on. I'm gonna try that to see if that corrected, or if that corrects a little bit of the, um, I'll call it stagnant growth of some of the corn on the outer edges and stuff. But we'll do. If I get even close to the same thing that I got last year, I'm still going to be 100% happy. So at any rate, we're going to be doing, using again the Earthway planter. I picked this up last year. Pretty much all I'm going to be using is for the sweet corn. Basically, if you haven't seen one of these, the wheel's going around, creating a trench, which is also getting dug out by this, we'll call it a trencher. As the belt turns a wheel inside the hopper. That picks up the corn, drops it down this chute into that. The chain comes in behind it and covers the seed. And then the wheel in the back, as you can see, is flat versus this one here being wedged. And the purpose of that is to pack the seed after you do it. And then on top of that, we also have a row spacer. So once I set my first row, this will hang out to the other side, creating the line for the second row, so on and so forth. One thing, I like this. It goes well up here on the hill, but it struggles around this rock. I ain't gonna lie to you, it was, I was getting very frustrated with it last year. It worked, but it was, I wanted to beat it up. The other thing I found out, I had read that sweet corn you're supposed to soak for, I don't know, I think it's 24 hours or something before you plant it. You soak it, and that allows the seed to gain all that moisture and, kind of give it a jump start. And that didn't work real well with the Earthway planter. One thing I do not want to do, this isn't a huge cornfield by no means, but I think it's 90 feet by 90 feet, something right in that range. That's a lot of square footage to hold a lot of groceries. I do not want to be out there hand doing every single seed. What ended up happening is the seed was had absorbed all that moisture, which is it was supposed to do, but when it went to go run through the Earthway planter, it was secreting all that starch or that milkiness in the seed, and it was clogging up the seeder or the planter. And I had stopped and go to clean it out, to the point to where whenever I got to the end of it, it was so bound up that I end up having to just kind of get rid of the wheel, create a trench, and then I went through and was hand tossing the seed in. And then the other thing I didn't do last year, even though it says to, is I didn't go back in and thin the herd. Okay, I kind of let everything go up, and that might have been a problem with the nutrition not properly getting to all the stock. So I do plan on doing that this year. And again, after just going through that story, I did not soak these seed. I'm taking them right out of the bag, dry seed. I think they're going to work better with that. We have some rain coming in the next couple days, supposed to be some thunderstorms. If we don't, right behind me, there is there's a pond there. There's a pond up at the other side, and there's no watering tower. So if I don't see that we're getting any rain in this week, then I'll water it. But I'm not going to go through a clogged cedar again. So hopefully I'm not making a mistake with that. But at any rate, guys, I just wanted to update you on on the cornfield and where things stood on that. And I did want to take another second. Whenever if you plan on doing one, as you can see in this field, Um, I don't know, we're 3, 4 o'clock. Very little shadows. I mean, everything is at this point full bloom. Very little shadows in the cornfield. It kind of stays like that all day. If you look over in here behind me, you'll see the raised garden beds and the water tower. Up in here, we've got the orchard. And if you look at that, I'm not going to walk around to every bit of it, but if you look at that, the sun, even at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, is hitting that full throttle. You need sun for your plants. Very little, if any, vegetables grow well in any type of shade. So, and that sun, particularly, you ought to plant on 6 hours. More is better. So when this was all laid out, I watched this and see where the sun was hitting, anticipated what the leaf cover was going to be, and it worked out. Um, and again, this cornfield I don't think could have been in a better spot, and I love the way it looks again this year. One last thing that I want to comment on. 2 years ago, I came in. This is the new lot that I bought. Um, so this is where the orchard and the cornfield and everything came out of that. So when I came in, this was pretty much all chestnut oaks, couple maples, um, and Virginia pine. And I don't know, out of this area I'm standing, throughout the orchard, probably several thousands and thousands of trees we took out of here. But I did keep the majority of the chestnut oak. Now, pretty much all that chestnut oak that was in here was slender trees, didn't look real healthy, and that's because they didn't have the light. Those pines had come in, and everything on this hillside was so dense and thick, I mean, you couldn't hardly walk through it. So whenever I came in and cleared that out, I left any healthy mass crop production tree, which is, the oaks with the acorns. And it does help the deer hunting. So I just kind of want to show you this tree right back here, okay? That tree has all that leaf cover on it. And if you look at it, up, it's a slender tree. And if you look down through all those other trees down through there, even this one, as we come up here a little bit closer to the top, you'll see all this growth, this lower growth, okay? And what that growth is from is the sun, okay? So like right there, I mean, you've got new branches, new growth starting out the side of the tree. I love looking at that one right there, because it prime example of what happens whenever you get sunlight in there. Out of everything that I got in here, I'm seeing that I lost one tree, and that probably wasn't anything that I did, because it's on a septic field for the original house. So that could have been done by the original installer, maybe cut the roots out or something, who knows. Not a big deal though. I mean, I'll drop the tree, leave the root system in there since it is in a drain field. And, on up in here, so we got this bigger tree right here behind me. And then over here we got a little bit fuller tree. And then also right there. Okay, so the reason those trees are more full at this point, 4 or 5 years ago, I came in, and that used to be a concealed food plot in the middle of a pine thicket. It wasn't very big, but I worked with that plot, opened it up. There was a couple trees in it, and but I did allow sunlight to come into a very, very small area, and that's what those trees turned into. I mean, they look great, healthy. They grew out from down below, and I'm anticipating the same thing to happen to pretty much all these. over the next 3 to 5 years. So let the sun shine in. At any rate, guys, I need to get this corn in the ground. It'll take me probably an hour and a half or so, and go spend some time with the chickens. But, I appreciate you watching the update on the cornfield. And if you haven't, like, share, subscribe. Blue Torpedo Life on the Mountain. Appreciate you watching. You get this corn in, and then I'm sure you'll be seeing the rewards of this in a few months. Thank you. God bless. Have a wonderful day.